At KSMO Radio, your hometown radio station. It is the last Wednesday, or I should say the fourth Wednesday of the month. Can't say last Wednesday. That's not appropriate, but it is the fourth Wednesday of the month, which we interview someone from our Denton County Extension. We have Eric Mush with us today, our agricultural specialist. Good to have you, my friend.
Good morning. Good morning.
You kind of had to reschedule from last month. You had Ray Walden pinch hit for you. That's not a bad pinch hitter
Nope.
to have come in. But first off, glad to have you. It's been a few months since we've had a chance to chat.
It's been since early in the year, actually. So we've got a lot of depth and extension right now. So it's good that just every once in a while, so my time comes, I come up in line to come in. I'm always happy to come in.
Well, we're always glad to see you, and you always have a lot of good information. Well, first off, we just had a very successful Beef Days.
Yes, we did.
Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Well, Beef Days is something definitely worthy of a shout out. This year, I looked back at our own records, and from what I've found, this was our 22nd Beef Day.
Really? Okay.
Going back to 2002. Our records take it back to 2002, and we missed one during COVID, or we've been 23rd. But Beef Day was taking place before that in different forms and different names. I mean, this community event to educate school kids about agriculture goes back. I couldn't find a definitive time, but definitely in the current.
As long as I've
form,
been here, they've had something. That's
certainly,
84.
Yeah, certainly. The Beef Day in the form we're doing it right now goes back to 2002. It involves volunteers from the community. It involves speakers from our sort of partner organizations, Intercounty, Pioneer Forest, MDC. It's all basically coordinated by the FFA. And those kids really do a great job setting up the event. They have several stations related to, we call it the FFA barnyard with the different animals, and a lot of the farm safety things are done by the FFA. And they do a great job. It's just turned out that it just runs like a well-oiled machine, and that always makes it sound easy, but it takes a whole lot of people that are generous with their time and willing to show up. That first Thursday of September every year, or second Thursday, I lose track, but it's that, I guess maybe the second Thursday of September every year. And make sure that event goes well, and it certainly went well again this year. Over 190 kids, which is always the ballpark we deal with. Every fourth grader in Denton County.
Right. And it used to be third graders, and they moved it back one year when COVID hit.
Yep.
Because they couldn't hold it. And so now it's the fourth graders. And, the interesting thing is we have our FFA Day here in February when they have their FFA week, and then we culminate that on Friday with the kids coming in. Mr. Parsons talks to them. And I'll say 60% of them say their favorite activity in FFA is Beef Days.
Right.
Because they get a chance to not only is it fun for them to set up and do, but they get to mingle with these kids. And they said, you ought to see the faces on these kids when they actually are there, and they're amazed.
Yeah, they do a great job. And of course that reflects on the school, and that reflects on the the FFA program in general. So yeah, it's always good to see that come. It occupies a lot of time getting it all ready. We're always happy to stick a fork in it, so to speak, and have it finished. But yeah, once again, it was a great Beef Day. The weather was great.
Yep.
And everything went really smoothly. So
and like you said, though, it takes so many volunteers, and it's not really that long of an event, but it sure does take a long time to get it all set up.
It does, and it is a pretty busy morning. I mean, we start as soon as they can get the kids here, about 8:30.
Right.
And we go we have to really, stay on track to get it done by noon and get the kids back. So
then you got to break it all back down.
And then we break it down. We have 17 different stations they rotate through. We feed them lunch. The cattlemen donated the beef, and they're out there cooking while the event goes on. And so we have a nice, good lunch. Shout out to Marianne Skiles, who is always in charge of getting all the food together and the lunch and reviewing the menu and making sure everything's there.
Excellent coordinator, isn't she?
Excellent coordinator. I mean, she's just like a laser as far as getting that done. So we're definitely thankful for Marianne's input on that. But everyone, really. A lot of sponsors from the community.
Sure.
So, it, it does cost money, and thankfully the community is generous enough to help us out.
But I think the community is wise enough, Eric, to know how important agriculture is to our area and how important it should be to these young people who lose track of what agriculture really is in the food source.
Right.
Because we have to see everything packaged. We see everything
Right.
done just so. When you go to a supermarket, it's clean and neat and tidy. Well, we're not sending them to a processing plant, but we are kind of giving them an idea that your food comes from sources that are actually alive at one point.
Sure. And even in a rural county, a lot of kids don't have much exposure. I mean, a lot of kids do. A lot of the families in our county are involved in some of these activities themselves, but a lot of them aren't. And so it's a great time to have a big influence on kids and start teaching them where their food comes from and the hard work involved, and et cetera, et cetera. So
yeah, I was very fortunate, and I think that I don't know of a lot of counties that do this type of beef days or call it beef days. I mean, they may do something similar in their own county, but I think Denton County is the only one that gets all of the rural schools involved to where they all participate, so everybody gets the same thing.
Well, Dent County's pretty unique.
Yeah, it is.
It's pretty unique in a lot of ways. But certainly the ability to do that, I think, is unique. And some other counties have looked at how we do this and to see if they could replicate it in their county. And it would be difficult to replicate because Dent County is able to pull together all of the fourth graders.
Sure.
And the fact that the schools help prioritize this also makes it possible.
Right, exactly. All the schools have to
Right.
work together, and that's just good. Well, first off, that's good PR for the schools to do it, and it's great that all the superintendents can get together, agree on this day, and then follow through with it, and make sure that they allow their students to be transported. They got to set up bus schedules. They got to do different things, and then and all the other kids are still at school, so it's not like you're killing school to have everybody go to these
Right.
things. You're just taking one grade and sending them out for about 2 hours.
And I mean, we're gonna get off track a few times this morning.
No, that's fine. We'll
those,
get back.
Those bus schedules are something that shouldn't be underestimated, and that often ends up being one of the difficulties for the schools, is because bus drivers, they're all shorthanded as
Right.
far as bus drivers
Right.
go. So those bus drivers are the ones that are watching their watch, watching the time, maybe more than the teachers are when the event gets started, because those bus drivers have to get those kids back to school, and then they've got another route to run to get a
Right.
sports team somewhere
Sure.
or something. And
Or
so,
field trip.
or a field trip,
Yeah.
a different field trip for a different grade.
Right.
And so it's always the bus drivers that are checking in, making sure we're going to be on schedule because, they've got a big job that day as well.
So, like I said, it's a community event. It really does work well. It's a fantastic event for those youngsters, and I'm just glad that we live in a county where they can get done. So these kids get a little sample. I mean,
Sure.
we're not giving them a full-blown education, but we're giving them a little sample of
Yep.
just how it is. And like you mentioned, a lot of these kids do come from the farm. They may be familiar with it, but for those who aren't, live in the city, maybe they don't know. It kind of is a wide, eye-opening experience.
Sure. And there's enough variety. There's something for everyone.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Great. It's a great thing. I want to go back before. Oh, go ahead. Something else
gonna
about beef
say,
days?
Well, no, it wasn't about
Oh,
beef days, but it was about youth. Just to point out that our 4-H enrollment period starts on October 1st. So, parents out there, keep that in mind, whether you're a returning 4-H family or you're going to potentially be a new 4-H family. Enrollment starts October 1st, and you can get more information if you reach out to the Extension office at 573-729-3196.
Well, I believe the enrollment's all online now. But
It
if you
is,
need
but-
if you need help,
You need help or information.
Right.
And I remember when we were starting, when you're starting, you don't know.
That's
And
exactly
so you
right.
don't know what your options are. You don't know. So definitely, if you're interested, call the office. If you're a return parent, hopefully, the online thing is becoming more of a routine now. but that does just start on October 1st, and I was told to mention that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. October is 4-H month anyway, so definitely want to get it done. But again, it is registration online. If you've never done it, feel free to call the office 729-3196. They can explain it. It's not as hard. I think the first year was really hard because they had a lot of problems. But, I think they've got all those worked out. If you're already been a 4-H'er, it should preload.
Right.
That's the nice part. You have to pull all that stuff in there again.
Your family will be in there already. You
so
just
all you got to do is
same spot.
all you got to do back to the same spot and update it. They're a year older. That's about it. So anyway, and if you have any questions, feel free to call 729-3196, and they can help you out. 4-H month in October. Man, that's always a good time. Speaking of 4-H, and we already mentioned FFA, let's go back just a little farther back to July, and I know you were highly involved in our 4-H FFA livestock auction, which again was incredible here in Dan County. And it always seems every year, however it happens, it's amazing the turnout, the amount of kids that are involved, the amount of money that gets spent. Eric, it's an amazing, basically 3.5 days to 4 days out of the Commons that I don't know if any other county, which usually include these in their fall festivals or fairs, has a standalone event like this that gets this kind of response.
Do you know? You're right. It was another good year. It seemed to be an exceptionally smooth year, knock on wood, because there's always little things that happen during that week.
Always.
But I sort of have to filter through everything going on because there is a lot going on, and I'm thinking about the livestock. And from my point of view, it's interesting how there's always a difference. Different livestock, whether there's a lot of pigs, a lot of steers, sheep, goats, and all the changes take place year after year. We've got more and more sheep and goats every year, which I think is really interesting. But this year, in the last couple of years, the small animals have really started to become more popular, the rabbits and the poultry. And we moved the show for those animals to Thursday just to make more room in the schedule during show day, and that turned out great. The bleachers were full, the kids were in the spotlight, and I think it was a great adjustment we made. We're still reviewing. Every year we have to review how the expo went and what we can do to refine things, but I think given the fact that the small animals are on the increase, making that change, I think, really helped highlight those exhibitors when they did their show. And I think that's probably one change that everybody agreed really went well this year.
That kind of used to be a tack on,
Right. Well,
small. There weren't that many.
There were 3 or 4 exhibitors.
Right.
And so you'd sort of squeeze them in, but that's no longer the case.
No.
And based on the participation in terms of spectators and the enthusiasm, I think that's no longer something you squeeze in. That's a great event.
It is fantastic, and I highly recommend it to anybody, starting all the way with the 4-H exhibits that are in the youth building. These kids work so hard on these exhibits, and they need some, I hope people take the time to go in there and look at them, because there's some incredible work that's done.
Yes, and this week we had some fantastic cured meats. We had some experts come and do workshops with the kids,
right? And
there's sort of been an effort among the clubs to try to up our game in cured meats, and I think we really have. And I'm learning that it's fairly unique to even have cured meats in fairs.
It is,
and we are
anymore,
and we are geographically in a spot where that is one of the traditional fair entries. I think it's no news to Dent County that that's a traditional fair entry.
Right.
But a lot of fairs had quit doing it, and we've continued to do it in fair entry. But I think that that is something that really went well this last year as well. And I think the participation in the cured meats is going to continue to increase, and hopefully the expertise and the skill set will continue to increase as well.
Well, and as you mentioned, the extension is going out and helping with some of these workshops. about teaching these things,
Yep.
and because okay, somebody can say, "Well, I can do canning." My grandma taught me how to do canning years ago. Well, that was probably with that stuff that she had from the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. Canning equipment is a little different today,
Right.
and and with obviously we don't want anybody to get salmonella or botulism. We don't want any of that. So you definitely want to make sure that everything is done correctly.
Sure.
We want you to can. Don't get me wrong. You can get a great crop of tomatoes this summer and have them in the middle of winter with great canning. You can do it,
Right.
and that's the neat thing about it. You'll never go hungry if you know how to can. My grandma told me that. She goes, "We'll never go hungry," because she canned tomatoes, she canned cucumber, she did cucumber, she made pickles. She always had something in the downstairs in the cellar that for a rainy day.
Well,
I've got this. And then she also would take those tomatoes and she'd make soups, and she'd make like a sauce. I would say, I don't want to say pizza sauce, but it's pizza, just a red sauce, your typical marinara, and she'd make that. So
Sure.
she could always have sauce. If she wanted that on her meat, she'll go down there and tell me go get a jar of the sauce, and I go down there and she would put that on top of beef or pork, and it was incredible.
Well, and people expect these days to go to Walmart and be able to get anything any time of the year. But I'm not the only one that would rather have a canned, homegrown, tomato that you grew and canned in the summer than a what call
Processed.
it fresh
Processed.
or call it
yeah.
a fresh tomato
Yeah.
in January in Walmart. There's if you really want that flavor, you can preserve it.
It's nothing.
But that's just an example of everything that is possible as far as exhibits, as far as projects that can be done, and really the expo tries to capture that, and of course putting it in that expo format ideally makes it fun for kids. Makes it just raises the whole profile of some of those activities, and it always turns out really well.
And it's a great event, but we talked just like about beef days. There's a lot of people that make that happen, and you can't even start listing them because the list it seems endless. But for all the participants, number one, for 4-H, if they're going to have an item in the youth building that they're going to be showing or they've created, and I have seen some incredible things that those young kids can do, and where their imagination has taken them to create that. That's the thing,
Oh, yeah.
Everybody keeps saying, "Well, your imagination's gone because it's all on that phone." You just nothing. Kids don't think anymore about something new. Yeah, that's not true. Anyway, I've always been impressed by what I see in there, but also the time and the effort that not only the kids put in, but the parents put in, and then making sure that the animal gets there and then taking care of the animal and staying with the animal, and you see them brushing the animal, and you'll see them do all kinds of things with the animal and talk to them,
Oh, yeah.
sleep with them if they have to. That's what it's all about, though. The vested interest that these kids have, and that's what makes it so incredible to me. Would I have done the same thing at that age? Of course, I lived in the city. We didn't really have that opportunity, but would I have done that? And first off, it's not just the day of the expo. This starts way back when they have to get their animal.
Well, it does, and actually, that starts in October when you sign up and get started.
Sure.
So keep that in mind and start thinking about what you might
October's
be
almost
interested
here.
in. Because and thinking about the animals, but also thinking about the cured meats, any of that.
Right.
But the welding, look into the welding exhibits.
know.
Some of these really young kids are already starting to get some of those skills, and a lot of those ended up in the state fair. I always enjoy seeing all those entries headed for the state fair coming through the extension office. And I don't really have a role in getting them there, but I love to see them all. And there were a lot of welding projects, a lot of photography projects.
Yep.
And I did have to go up to the state fair to help one day in the farm safety booth. And it was fun to go stroll and pick out those exhibits from Dent County that were up there among those thousands of exhibits.
Sure.
But we do send a lot of of those exhibits, and a lot of livestock exhibitors go to the state fair as well from Dent County. But
Absolutely.
it's great to see those little, you know, really young welding projects from kids that are 10, 12 years old.
Yeah, I was going to say 10.
Yeah, at the state fair. So
Yeah. It's amazing. And, you know, years ago before you came, our fall festival was so late that we didn't have entries into the state fair because it was the same week, the state fair.
Sure.
And then they moved it up a little bit. Now it's gotten moved into earlier July so that those exhibits and those livestock exhibitors can actually take their animal and go to the state fair. And those 4-H exhibits can make it up to the state fair. So,
Yep.
you know, that was always a big, I remember years ago when I first got started, oh, well, we can't get it to the state fair. Go the same week. And, you know, so that was just how it always was when I got here.
Right.
I mean, that's what they always told me. And so we'll make a change, and if it can be done,
Right.
And they were able to get it done, and then everybody was like much happier.
Well, you know, and down where we are, the state fair isn't right next door.
No.
It's a big commitment to go up there just because the logistics involved. But I mean, we are seeing kids get up there. We are seeing people just going up there for the entertainment value as well, and
Sure.
Ozark Empire as well. Going to Springfield, a lot of people like to go to the, you know, the trade shows, look at the newest equipment, look at the newest, you know, innovations in terms of, you know, ag equipment, et cetera,
Right.
et cetera.
Yeah,
So-
State Fairgrounds is a big place.
Big place.
Big place. If you go up there when there's no exhibits going on and try to walk all the way around it, you'll find out how big a place it is.
And there's stuff going on year round.
Yeah,
I mean,
there
people
is.
use those facilities year round.
Yep.
So,
All the time. Very
Yeah.
good. Well, again, we want to tip our cap to all the participants this year, as well as all those who have worked diligently to continue to keep that Livestock Expo going. And Eric, I know you're one of those, but it takes a lot of people on the day of the sale. It takes a lot of people to get everything set up. So, again, big tip of the cap. Junior Livestock Committee does an incredible job putting that all together, you know, and we just want to thank everybody because, you know, when the weather's fantastic, it's great. When the weather gets super hot, it's pretty miserable, but it still all gets done. Doesn't
Yep.
make any difference.
and the Commons is such a great place to have it.
It is.
And we've been working, you know, Benny Maxwell is kind of on that board and in charge of keeping everything going out there. And he's been very receptive to any improvements the Junior Livestock Committee wants to make to any of those facilities.
Right.
Very receptive. And we're always talking with Benny about any improvements that can be made to make that event go smoother. And he's always open for ideas.
You know, and again, you have to be open to ideas. There are changes being made all the time, and I mean, I even heard. I think it was mentioned that I heard about actually streaming the livestock auction so that people can bid online.
Wow. You
So-
know, that would be, I think, I've never heard that, but
Yeah.
I think that would be totally doable.
Yeah, I think it would be too.
But we would have to be careful thinking about that because, you know, that's, well, it would add a component, but we love to have people there, and we
Sure.
love that live environment with people at the auction.
Yeah, I think it was. I know one year Jason Smith was bidding, and he had to
Sure.
bid through somebody on the phone,
on the phone,
because
yeah.
and then they were trying to do that, and back and forth, and sometimes the cell reception isn't the best underneath the barn.
Sure.
You know, and so it went back and forth, but it all got done the right way. But I don't know. I'd be open to see how it would work. You know, but it would definitely, I think, be doable.
Well, we work with South Central Regional Stockyards
they
to
do
have
DV
the
auctions.
Show Me Select heifer sale, and
Yeah.
there's always a number of bidders online
Sure.
at the heifer sale, and it's routine for that for a lot of the sale barns to use DV auction,
right.
and so I think it would be very possible.
The only thing is they have to be registered for anybody like you or I who want to buy. You have to get registered
Right.
to actually bid online. So that's the only thing I think that's it might be a one-time deal.
Right.
And somebody might want to bid. So I don't know. We'll see what happens
Well,
with Junior Livestock Committee.
And you never know what the future brings.
No,
Maybe
you do not.
next year, but in 5 years, who knows?
Oh, yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
I mean, but everything progresses, so
Sure.
we'll keep moving forward. All right, so anyway, another very successful 4-H FFA livestock auction back in July. Let's talk a little bit about some other things. You have some budgets that you have
I do.
got done. We were
I've
talking
got-
about that before we got on the air a little bit.
I've got some budgets hot off the press, and I know everyone loves to talk about budgets, enterprise budgets, but the university puts together and updates a number of budgets related to agriculture. There's a beef cow calf budget that breaks down sort of expenses and income from a sort of a business point of view, how you might look at a cow calf operations. They break it down for a spring calving herd, a fall calving herd. They used to break it down between northern Missouri and southern Missouri as well, but they've sort of put it back into one budget for the state, spring and fall calving. There's budgets for if you want to finish beef and direct market beef.
Okay.
There's budgets for sheep, goats, any sort of agricultural activity you might do. They have a planning budget that basically helps you think through, hopefully look at your own business maybe a little bit more critically and make some improvements on management.
And maybe make you aware of some things that you weren't.
And maybe make you aware of some things that you weren't, and give you some informational tools to maybe make your business a little bit better.
Or something you never knew about.
And just yesterday, we finished we've got 2 budgets for pastured poultry, which are sort of growing in popularity. And so we've got a mobile laying hen planning budget, which talks about, the basically fixed costs and variable costs of producing eggs for direct market or for wholesale marketing. I know that direct marketing products like that is becoming more and more popular.
Right.
And then also a mobile poultry for meat planning budget, which goes through sort of the fixed and variable costs, et cetera, for pastured broilers, which is another thing that's really been on the increase. We actually had a chicken processing workshop here in Salem.
Yes, we did.
And that really went well. I know the farmers markets, people are able to process their own birds under 1,000 bird exemption. That's one of the exemptions that a lot of people are most interested in, actually. And so there's a lot of poultry being marketed locally through farmers markets, off farm, and it can be a good little income stream. And so that's sort of recognized when they put together these budgets. Right. So if you want to look for those budgets, you can call the extension office, 729-3196. Janet can help you, point you the right direction. But they are guide sheet G741 and I guess they're both under G741.
Maybe that's poultry.
But they can point you the right direction as far as putting together maybe a budget if you want to talk to a lender, or even a budget for scrutinizing your own operation.
Right. And a few years back, the city allowed chickens inside the city limits now. So, so if you are using those chickens for eggs, you may want to pick up that budget and see
have a look at that.
If you're addressing all the needs of those chickens. And maybe there's something in there that might help you with maybe getting a few more extra eggs.
Well, and it also can be a reality check on how much you're actually spending on feed, how much you're spending on facilities, and how much you're really bringing in. And some people, it's a hobby and they don't care, but a lot of people do like to run their hobby like a business.
Yeah.
And so these planning budgets are something that the university puts out on multiple topics, and it's always good to check in and have a look at them.
Budgets on virtually everything.
Right.
It is a campus. It is a university, and they do tend to have budgets on everything.
Another thing that's coming up is there's a group that's run by my colleague. I don't even know. She's probably been in here at some point. Sarah Higgins.
Yes.
Who's a natural resource specialist, and she has
I think I've talked to her on the phone.
A group called Women Owning Woodlands.
Yep.
That has regular things online, courses that you can listen in on, and meetings and brainstorming. But they're planning a fall field trip, and they're going to do it in Dent County, actually, Dent and Shannon County. It's
Okay.
October 10th and 11th. They're going to tour Pioneer Forest. They've got some evening events on the 10th, and then they've got a guided hike on the 11th. So if anyone is interested in learning more about this group or even attending their field trip, you can call the extension office, and Janet can send you the right direction to get signed up for this field trip, which I think is a great idea, actually.
And you can find a lot of this information online too. The
Sure.
Dent County Extension. You
find
can
it
go to
online.
MU Extension's website. Just click on Dent County, and it'll take you right to our local, and look under events, and you'll see a whole bunch of these things that are all upcoming. Yeah, and they actually start listing things that are even in 2026. So
Well, and that's
as
the
long as
hard-
they can get them scheduled.
Well, and that's the thing. That's the kind of the downside of our website. Sometimes it's hard to really dial in on what you're trying to find.
Yeah.
Because there's so much on there.
So much.
On there. One thing that I did want to bring up while
Sure.
I'm in here, and this
Absolutely.
is a concern. I'm putting my livestock specialist hat on, and that's our concern preparing for winter with our livestock producers, and the fact that, given the nature of the year we've had, there was a lot of hay put up in the spring.
Yes, there was.
It was a nice wet
Great.
spring going into June, going into July, but it was almost too wet. People couldn't get in the fields. There weren't good windows for getting the hay
That's
put
true.
up. And a lot of the hay that was harvested, even though it was a bumper crop for a lot of people, it was pretty mature forage.
Yeah.
And so what we've sacrificed with our hay crop this year is we've gotten the quantity, but we don't really have the quality sometimes that we need to have in our hay. That grass was just able to get over mature before it could be harvested. And so what that sacrifices is protein and energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so we encourage everyone, especially given the fact that it's been so dry this fall, and we might end up again feeding more hay than we hope to.
Right.
Test that hay, have a look at the test, see what nutrition is in those bales, so you can plan accordingly as far as providing any supplement that you might need to provide. So we do have hay probes at the office that people can just borrow. We will walk you through testing that hay. We don't test the hay at a university lab. Our forage, most of our forage testing labs are for the university research, and we have a public-facing forage testing lab. But we can send you. We usually use Custom Labs in Monette, which is a good private laboratory, and they're very helpful. But for a $20 investment,
It's worth the $20.
It's worth $20
to know if you're actually getting the nutrients that your
Right.
cattle need.
And I have looked at a lot of hay tests this year, and there's a lot of, people are surprised that the hay isn't as good as they thought it was going to be, because it was such a wonderful year and it's so productive, but it's just the quality isn't there in a lot of that hay. So we do encourage people to have a look at their hay and make sure that they are doing what they need to do
Sure.
to continue making good money in this cattle market.
Well, the cattle
because-
market's pretty incredible. I just talked with Daryl yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's still some prices that, from last year, Eric, over
I
a
know it.
dollar or more a pound.
I know it.
You know, and that's just, my dad was a wholesale meat distributor back starting in the late 40s and all the way up into the early 80s. When he would tell me about prices per pound, I'd say, how can they afford to do that, Because, you go to the store, beef was 19 cents a pound. Ground beef is 19 cents a pound. Now, you're not paying much
Right.
if you're getting 19 cents a pound. Well, now it's, $4 and something a pound?
Do you know, I saw an interesting, you're probably talking about the early 70s maybe? Is that, would have been before that?
It would have been before that. It would have been in the 60s.
There was someone had a close look at that in the early 70s, the relationship between the price of cattle and beef and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the early '70s, you could buy a pickup with 3 or 4 calves,
Right.
where now, cattle prices are a lot higher.
Sure.
But everything else, look at the price of everything else, and so
yeah, you can't buy a pickup for 3 or 4 calves
you
now.
can't buy and
maybe
calves
10.
Calves are pretty darn high
yeah,
too. But
maybe 10, but
but
3 or 4. But it was, but vehicles were a lot cheaper. Everything was a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
And people have to understand that all the negotiations have been done years and years and years and years, where you start to have retirees getting pensions and their medical pay for. You're paying for all that in your cars and trucks. So anybody who worked for Chevy, Chrysler, Ford, once they retired, they still got all those benefits that they did while they were working. But then you've got new workers replacing them, and they're getting the benefits too. So those prices continue to go up. And of course, the cost of materials now is out of sight.
And the price of beef is kind of, it's going to be teetering on impacting demand, because who can pay $7 for ground beef?
Oh, yeah.
And of course, the imports issue is an issue with the screwworm. We found out a couple days earlier than some folks, but it's finally in the press that they thought the screwworm was about, which is this flesh-eating maggot that's a big concern right now.
Right. In Mexico, right?
In Central America, Mexico. Yeah. And they finally had sightings in Mexico, and they thought it was about 300 miles from our border. Now it's less than 100 miles from our border. So it's sneaking up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to put any false security, but these flies are not going to winter in Missouri. So if it ever gets in the United States, which there's a good chance it never will, just because there are a lot of measures being taken to make sure it doesn't get in the United States, it would be less of a threat in Missouri just because of our winters.
Sure.
So it might be a seasonal issue or something, but in certain parts of cattle producing country in Texas, et cetera, it could be a big issue, and it hadn't been in the past.
Right.
I mean, it's only been eradicated since the 1960s.
Yeah.
And of course, there was a cattle industry before the 1960s.
Sure.
So, we can adapt and adjust, but we've had the luxury of being able to control that parasite for decades and decades, and we really don't want to have to go back to deal with it again.
One of the things that, and I'll refer back to my father again, because he's again a wholesale meat distributor. There used to be 8 packing plants in St. Louis, 8, and everybody says, "Oh, St. Louis, you go out to St. Charles and go out Fenton Way and stuff." There was nothing out there. Everybody sees it today. Don't see it today. Go back to the 1950s and 60s, where if you got out to Hazelwood, that was the country. And Hazelwood is North County. And if you went across the river in St. Charles, that was really the country. There was nothing out there but fields, cattle, sheep, goats, hogs.
Yeah.
And a lot of people grew soybeans out that way. There's a lot of flat area up there along the Mississippi River, up around Highway 79. And then you started getting up into the cattle country when you got up on the hills on the top of it. And a lot of people had cattle out that way. Well, all those packing companies used to bid on those cattle. And so they drove the price up. And if you can think of 19 cents a pound for a hamburger, can you imagine what the prices would have been? And, of course, you still had the Chicago Mercantile. You still had all that stuff. But they took all those prices. And I know a lot of people don't remember this, but there used to be a slaughtering plant, the big East St. Louis auction house, and you had one in Kansas City as well. Those are the 2 largest in the world at the time, right in the middle of our continent. And, my dad took me to the East St. Louis one before it shut down. It was unique to see these auctions and these cattlemen, and everybody knew everybody. Eric, it was an amazing thing. I'm sure Kansas City was the same way.
There are probably people listening to the radio right now that remember a generation or 2 ago, we used to produce fat cattle from these areas and take them to St. Louis.
Yes.
And we're not talking, big pot loads. We're talking people would raise a half a dozen, fatten a half a dozen steers and take them and sell them as fat cattle in St. Louis, because there was a big active meat processing.
Well,
and
when you had all those plants, you had demand.
Right.
And all of them competed with each other. Max Sherman, Cry Packing Company. You had, I can't think of all of them anymore, but but my dad had to call every one of them to
Yep.
get sometimes the meat
Sure.
and whoever had the best price.
Sure.
And that was his job.
That's how business was done.
Yeah, and then he's getting that for his customers who don't want to pay any more than they have to, so they can make more profit selling it to their customers. But you kept the prices as low as possible
Sure.
to get that done, and to make your store stand out. Now, people again today, you see Walmarts and everything having all this. You used to have corner stores, and they were your local grocery store. That's where you got everything.
Right. And there would be a meat counter.
Be a meat counter.
And they would be, yep. Yeah.
Well, and that's who my dad serviced. And he had 88 customers, 88 different stores he had to go to.
But you know, there is finally a meat processor in Missouri again.
Yeah, Wentzville now.
In Wentzville, in Warren County, and they are open. And I forget the exact numbers, but they have the potential to kill a couple thousand a day, I think. I don't think they're running at those rates right now, but they were trying to work that direction. I would like, we'll see how it comes together, but maybe looking into having a tour going up there. I'll talk to the cattlemen and we'll talk to people, and I've talked to one producer, and it would be good, anyone that's really interested in that side of the business to maybe even go up and see if we can get a tour and have a look around, because people, it's amazing how that is done now.
A lot different than it used to be.
How mechanized it is, and how and there was one in Southwest Missouri that sort of petered out, but this one in Warren County, they think will maybe get some footing, and it'll change how we market cattle a little bit in Missouri, not a whole lot, because it's such a huge industry, and that's just a drop in the bucket. But
unfortunately, the federal government got involved and shut most of those shut all of the packing companies down in St. Louis, simply because of sanitation and the things that they were calling sanitized. It was hilarious because my dad would talk to these inspectors. So you couldn't have wood, and your hooks, you couldn't have anything fall down, so you had to have basically stainless steel everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here's the thing: stainless steel sweats. So when you're trying to get the drippings from cattle and stuff, they go to the floor. Then they come in there with heat sprayed water. Well, guess what? You heat spray water. You're moving all that stuff around. You go, where's it go? Right on the ceiling. And guess what? When it cools down, it starts dripping right back down, right on the carcasses that are hanging there. And he said, he goes, you want to tell me which one of you congressmen is the intelligent one that knows when you heat this up, it's going up to that ceiling and then dripping back down the cattle? So if there is any kind of disease in here, you're putting it on the cattle. It's not there now, but you're putting it there.
Right.
And they like, oh, and he was just he goes, I'm just telling you common sense. You guys have none.
Right.
Should leave this as the wood. You want to put something up there, that's fine. But on the wood absorbs anything. And then when you clean it, you scrub it. You have to scrub it. Not going to go up to that ceiling. You don't have to use hot water.
And, that's one. That's one reason I think that people like their local processors. We like to, if we can buy from some of these local facilities that aren't doing 1,000 to mass production, that are doing maybe 40 a week.
Yeah.
10 to 20 to 40 a week.
Cut the way you want.
Dry aged. It's hard to beat some of that locally processed meat.
It is.
And we're blessed in our part of the state that we have a lot of options as far as that goes. There's a lot of good places out there.
But Eric, I remember he took me down to the packing house and showed me how they kill the calves and stuff. And at the time, it was with a sledgehammer, and it was pretty gruesome.
They stunned them.
Well, at that time, they didn't even stun them. They got them in a rack, conveyor belt, and they had one huge guy stand over top of them.
Swinging a hammer all day.
Yeah, and that's what he did.
Yeah.
And if they came back right after that, then they cut their throat.
Right.
So it's not like that anymore. But that was back in the early 60s.
Yeah.
That's the way it was done.
That's changed.
Totally done. But today it's a lot better done. You don't have to go through all that.
Oh no. Yeah.
It's a lot easier to see how quickly they can do this and do it very more humane.
Well, and we do have a pretty good meat supply in this country, and And we all are, as we see, even though the prices are increasing, we all are big meat eaters. And so I think it's kind of been, it's hard to say sometimes if it's demand driven or supply driven, because it kind of goes a little bit hand in hand. But we do have the ability in this country to produce a lot of high quality meat, and we certainly like to consume it. We like to export it when we can.
Yeah.
But we also like to consume it, and that's one thing that we're blessed with as well.
As Daryl says, you don't go out for a chicken dinner, you go out for a nice steak
That's
dinner.
right. That's right.
He goes, if you want to go out for a chicken dinner, that's fine. You got a local place you can do that. He goes, you want a nice steak dinner? He goes, there's nothing better than a hot steak coming off the grill. Oh, man.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah.
So
I'm with you.
Yeah. So anyway, but we do
morning, noon, or night, if you ask me.
breakfast steak, lunch.
That's right.
Lunch steak, dinner steak. You betcha. I'd be good for that. I'm a beef guy too. My dad, I love all kinds of meat, but my dad really loved beef, and so yeah, we do have more of that in our house than anything else. Very good. Anything else, sir, that you need to pass on?
I think that gets pretty far down my list. Anyone has any issues, any questions about testing hay, any questions about any livestock issue that they're scratching their head about, or even something more urgent than that, please give me a call at the Extension office, 573-729-3196. I cover a lot of counties, and a lot of that time is trying to just get out and see people's places and help brainstorm issues, provide information, whether it's developing a feeding ration, whether it's, helping, look at forage, not necessarily disease issues, but making sure that people are working with a vet and they're getting all their disease issues taken care of. We've got the Show Me Select Heifer program. Anyone might be interested in that. Heifers are going to be a big topic right now. The herd is starting to expand, they say.
Oh,
Well, what they're saying is the heifers are starting to be retained, and cow slaughter's down a little bit. So the indications are that it's turned, and that the herd will start expanding again. And so heifers are going to be a hot commodity for the next few years.
Well, they sure will.
Yeah.
Very, very much so. And don't forget 4-H. If you're interested in becoming a 4-H member or renewing, you have to do it annually. It's just kind of one of those crazy things.
Yep.
But you have to do it online. If you have any questions about doing that, feel free to call the Extension office, 729-3196. Or if you happen to be downtown, around the courthouse, you can stop in. It's in the Judicial Building. It's on the second floor on 5th Street, and they more than welcome you there. And if you can't use the steps, please call them.
Yeah.
They can bring somebody down.
We're happy to come down, for sure. Yeah, those steps are a challenge, and so we're always happy to come down. We are aware of it.
It's a mountain.
Yeah, it's a mountain.
Keeps you in shape, Eric.
And as far as Extension goes, the Extension Council is going to be looking for candidates here at the end of the year.
That's true.
So starting in October, if you want to get your name in the hat, they do need several people on the board. There's going to be several people going off of the board, and so the election is in January, but they start putting together their list of candidates in October. So call out to the office about that if you want to get involved, and we do appreciate people that do participate on the council. It's basically what keeps Extension working.
Absolutely, and there are different areas that are represented by that council as well. So, no matter where you are in Dent County, you have a voice.
Yeah.
Just please get your name in there. And again, just 729-3196. Talk with Janet or anybody there about how you can become a council member, and they'll tell you when to sign up and what you need to do. It's really not very hard. Got to attend some meetings.
Yeah.
That will happen starting, January. They had the election in January, so I assume starting in February, pretty well have a meeting every month. I think you have 1 month off in the summer.
It's up to the council. The different councils, they make their own decisions based on how they work. They're pretty autonomous.
Yeah.
And it is what you make of it.
Yeah.
Like every community organization, it is what you make of it. And it's important that people do, that we do have people interested and active. And we are, blessed with a lot of interested, active people on the council right now. But it needs to continue, and so there always needs to be, more people involved.
Well, our Extension does a tremendous job. Obviously, we take this time out at least once a month to make sure that we have somebody to talk to, like Eric, or we've had Katie Kamler and talking about different things with botany and things of that nature, and she can tell you all about plants and things of that nature. And as you mentioned, Miss Higgins, there are so many different aspects of the extension that I don't even think people even know exist.
Right.
That you can find out about a whole bunch of different stuff. So, if anybody has any questions, again, 729-3196. Eric, as always, we appreciate you stopping by and taking some time out. You don't have to wait so long next time. You can come a little bit earlier. But we do thank you for stopping by and giving us an update on different things. And, again, keeping us informed what the extension is doing.
Yeah, good. Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Keep it right here, KSMO Radio, 1340 AM, 95.7 FM. We've got AP News. We've got statewide news of Missouri Net. We've got civic happenings all on the way, all right here at KSMO, your hometown radio station.
Good. Thank you.